third comprehensive annual report by Net Zero Tracker was released last week, contrasting and comparing the net zero target intent and integrity across all nations, all states and regions in the largest 25 emitting countries in the world, all cities with 500,000 plus inhabitants, and the largest 2,000 publicly listed companies in the world. Good news, bad news of it. The good? Company net zero target setting momentum continues at speed. National government net zero targets underpinned by legislation or policy documents increased substantially in the 2.5 years, from less than 10% to 75%. And the bad? Despite having net zero pledges, no major producer countries or companies have committed to phasing out fossil fuels. Growth in the number of national and subnational net zero targets has slowed. A significant share of subnational and corporate entities still lacks any emission reduction target whatsoever, at the global level and within the G7. Thomas Hale of the University of Oxford, report co-author.
We haven't yet seen a huge move from fossil fuel companies or other companies on meeting those guidelines, so there's still a lot of work to do to come up to that level.
Meanwhile, the journal Science published a study last week which found that about 90% of countries' net zero targets were unlikely to be achieved. The study, Credibility Gap in Net Zero Climate Targets Leaves World at High Risk, published on June 9, 2023, evaluates the policy characteristics of countries' net zero targets and assigns them credibility ratings. The authors estimate how greenhouse gas emissions and temperature are differentiated by their confidence in the targets. The study found that when considering the credibility of current climate pledges, the world remains far from delivering a safe climate future. The authors suggest that communications about where global warming is heading have created a climate of confusion. Co-author Taryn Franson, from the World Resources Institute in Washington, D.C.
Climate change targets are by their nature ambitious. There's no point in setting a target for a foregone conclusion, but implementation must follow.
And according to our very own Emergency Preparedness Minister Bill Blair,
currently, almost 32,000 people remain evacuated and 4.7 million hectares of forest have been burned. This now qualifies, unfortunately, as Canada's worst wildfire season of the 21st century.
Pretty much feels like we're doomed, if not in entirety, at the very least to wear N95 masks forevermore and a continuous Canadian truckers coast-to-coast convoy to add a little noise pollution to the mix. Happy days. This has been Ole K. Boomer for Ollie K. and Nola, saying TTFN from the Boomer 2 network. Cheers.